Hello everyone, this is Matt Munguia, the FEX Mentor. I'm going to break down my presentation. I'm going to be stopping along the way and letting you know why I say certain things during the presentation and why timing of certain things are good and better than others. So, you know, as some of y'all know, I've been doing this for over a decade, about 11 years now, getting close to 11 years. And you know, I've done this presentation many times over. I've switched things here, switched things there, eliminated some sayings, inputted some sayings to basically where I'm at right now. Okay, so let me get on with the presentation. So a mock presentation here, as if I'm sitting down with George and Mary, let's just say. So first off, you know, obviously by this time I'd already sitting down, preferably at the kitchen table. And then at this time I'm, you know, introducing myself. So, you know, Mrs. Let's call them the Rodriguez family, let's just say. Okay, Rodriguez. So Mr. and Mrs. Rodriguez, as you probably saw, my crazy looking car out there with my name plastered all over it. The reason I say and do that is because I use my car as, again, presentation is all about trust, building trust. You're trying to build as much trust in as little bit of a time frame as possible, right? So those that have ridden with me know that I like to park my car like where they can, when they open, the client opens the door to let me in, boom, they have a shot of my car with my car, you know, has that wrap on it, says, you know, what I do pretty much. Okay, so at that point, again, building trust, because I'm like the Orkin man at that point, right? That they're letting in the house, just on the insurance side of things. So again, so Mrs. and Mrs. Jones, you probably saw that crazy looking car at the with my name plastered all over it. That's me, Matt Munguia. I have been doing this, guys, for over a decade. This is what I do all day, every day for the past 10 plus years. And I am what's called a broker. Okay, so what that means to you, Mr. and Mrs. Rodriguez, why that's advantageous to you is because I'm able to do things that regular agents can't do. A lot of agents out there can only shop one company. Okay, they're limited to one company. I'm going to be able to shop a bunch of different companies for you, Mrs. Jones. It doesn't matter. You can say 20, 30, 40, you can say 50 plus companies. It doesn't really matter on that part. Just getting the point across to them that you can shop a bunch of different companies. Now, this is where I'm building trust right here, and why I say broker. You don't have to say broker. You know, some agents aren't comfortable with that. You can say whatever. You know, let them know though that the point is that you can shop a bunch of different companies for them. Okay. Now, the next thing I like to do is say what companies I represent. I like to say some of them, right? The big names, household names, name brand names. Again, building trust and recognition. So Mrs. Rodriguez, I'm with companies you probably heard of like Mutual of Omaha, Transamerica. I'm with Gerber, Mutual of Omaha. I think I already said that. But you get the point. So say the name brand companies that we're with, okay? The big names that they've heard of. Again, building trust, right? So my job today, Mrs. Rodriguez, is to ask you a few questions, mainly health questions, okay? And then based on your answers, I'm going to shop all those companies I'm with to try and find the lowest rates on the market for you. Fair enough? You know. All right, so let me start with some basic information, Mr. and Mrs. Rodriguez. So, George, what's your date of birth, please? All right, 8/2/54. Okay, Mary, 7/1/45. Okay. Smokers or non-smokers? No, we don't smoke. Okay, non-smoker, non-smoker. And heights and weights for the both of y'all. 5'9", 200, and 5'5", 180. Perfect. Now let me ask an important question to y'all at this point. Let's just say y'all were my clients already. Let's just say I was here 7 years ago and y'all got a $10,000 plan from me at that time, and let's knock on wood. And let's just say something happened to you right now, George, okay? You're no longer here to make any more decisions. That's it. You're gone. Who would you want me to deliver the $10,000 check to? Who would be your beneficiary on something like this? Oh, it'd be my wife, Mary, of course. Okay, so beneficiary is Mary. And Mary, the same question for you. Who would you want me to deliver the $10,000 check to? It would be my husband, George. Okay, so beneficiaries are each other. Great. All right, Mr. and Mrs. Rodriguez, and we can add secondaries in case y'all are together and something happens, okay? Okay. Now let me ask another important question to you guys. Have y'all thought about if y'all want full burial or cremation? Let's just say George says full burial. All right, so we put down full burial. And let's say Mary says cremation. All right, so I'm going to put down cremation on Mary's side. Now let me show you what my form that I'm filling out looks like. At this point, this is, again, a mock lead, right? Just a fake lead. The Rodriguez family, I put Mary's stuff over here. George stuff's on the other side. We have their, at this point, we have their heights, their weights, they're non-smokers, and one wants a full burial and one wants a cremation, okay? Again, all this information is just false. I mean, again, this is just a mock deal, but this is literally what I put on every one of these cards when I'm in the house, okay? Now, at this point, so George wants full burial, Mary wants cremation, okay? No problem. So at this point, I'm just going to start asking some major stuff because I want to start getting some underwriting out of the way. So let me ask you something. You know, prices on these things are based on your age, your health, things like that. So kind of tell me, Miss Mary, tell me a little bit about your health. I mean, have you had any cancers, heart attacks, strokes, diabetes, anything? Let's just say she says diabetes. Okay. All right. So just diabetes, right? Yep. Just diabetes. Okay. Now, any insulin shots with that? Like, you know, insulin shots? Yes. Let's just say she says yes. All right. So I'm going to put diabetes with insulin. How many units per day? I don't know. I probably take, let's say 50 units per day. All right. All right, 50 units per day. So in my head, I'm already, you don't have to, but in my head, I'm already calculating what company is going to be best for her. I already know that probably not Aetna per se, because 45 units is their max, 40 or 45 units. So I already know that that's probably not it, but I'm already doing this in my head. Now, when I ask about the insulin, whenever we get that deep, I'm going to ask another question about it. Now, tell me a little bit. I mean, have you had any neuropathy? Like, did you take gabapentin or Lyrica maybe? Because I'm trying to find out if she has nerve damage, nerve pain at that point. Let's say she said, yeah, I take gabapentin, you know, and a lot of times when you're doing that, it builds trust and rapport because they're like, oh, this guy knows what he's talking about, all right? So gabapentin, all right, so you're on gabapentin. So at this point, now I know that, you know, we're working with a lot less companies already, but we could still get a day one coverage possibly at this point, okay? No amputations, Mrs. Jones? No amputations. No retinopathy, nephropathy, like kidney issues or eye issues? No. Okay, great. What other medications are you taking, Miss Jones? Can you go ahead and just bring them to me so I can make double sure on the list? I think we have a good company for you. I just want to make double sure. All right, so she brings back medications or a list, whatever. Always ask when they do this. Let's say they bring back 3 medications. Okay, Ms. Jones, now, are these all the medications, not only that you're taking, but have been prescribed to you in the last couple of years? And the reason I say that is because a lot of the clients will only bring you the ones that they're currently taking, even though it's still in the system that they should be taking this or still taking that, but they're just not. But that was their call and their move, not the doctor's per se, right? So we want to make sure we get all the medications. So are these all the medications that have been prescribed to you in the last couple of years, Ms. Jones or Ms. Rodriguez? So that's the question you want to ask, because the last thing we want to do is think, oh yeah, great, we got this day one coverage, we should get it no problem. And then, oh, there's a little nitro bottle. I forgot to tell you about that, and they get declined on the, you know, through underwriting over the phone, or you know, you find out 3 or 4 days later that she didn't tell you about that one, right? So that's how you want to uncover more of these things. All right, so we got a good little brief synopsis. Basically, she's only on diabetes with insulin, gabapentin, no other issues. At that point, you know, no COPD, no epilepsy, no hepatitis. I usually run these off on the top of my head. I just start start saying some of these more common ailments. No kidney issues, no dialysis, nothing like. No. Okay, any COPD, asthma, chronic asthma. No. Okay, great. All right, so I'll put that one aside. Now, George, tell me a little bit about your health. Well, I'm in excellent health, no meds, no nothing. Oh, great. All right, so you might qualify for what we call the Superman price, George. That's normally what I say. Again, it's just making them feel good about what they're doing, right? So, and sometimes I'll tell Mary that too, but that's a little bit iffy. I still don't know everything yet, so you might want to hold off on saying anything like that to Mary. Now, at this point, I say, okay, George, well, let's take a look at this. You want a full burial, right? So the average price of a full burial right now in the state of Texas is about $8,000, okay? And at 8,254, I don't know what that is. Let's just say 60 years old to make math easy. You're 60 years old right now, though, George, okay? So what I would recommend is this. We already know every 10 years prices approximately double, right? So let me show you this chart here. And this is where I'll show them this is my folder. This is where it talks about the average cremation prices. It's the averages in the middle. Average funeral prices, the averages in the middle. And life expectancy chart is what I use a lot. So George, male, age 60, your life expectancy is another 20.42 years to take you to 80.42 years old. And look at that, George. $24,000 is the estimated funeral cost at that time. How they come up with this is from Social Security, is when somebody's born, George, they have a birth certificate, right? Government gets a birth certificate. When they pass away, government gets a death certificate. So they know, after running tens of hundreds of millions of numbers, they know what your life expectancy is on average, and they're thinking your life expectancy is going to be around 80, almost 81, and the average funeral will be about 24,000. I know that sounds like a lot, but here's how they come up with that number, George. So right now you're 60, it's 8,000. When you're 70, you can double that to 16,000. That's just like Cokes were 50 cents 10 years ago, Mr. George. They were 50 cents 10 years ago. Now they're $1. Same is true with this. It's always doubling, right? So at age 80, you're going to be looking about 24K. And as you see here on the chart, that's about what it was, right? So that's how they come up with that number. Every 10 years, prices double. Now they're seeing the numbers match up, and they're like, okay, this guy, even if you're off by 1,000 or 2,000, it's a good approximate, and they're saying, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about, right? Again, building trust. Now let's go to Mary. Now, Mary, you want cremation. So let's go back to George. So George, it's saying you need 24,000. Why don't we do this? Why don't we look at 10, 15, and 20,000 for now? And then we'll kind of go from there, all right, based on price and budget and things like that. And I always say, yeah, okay, sounds good, all right? And I always want to show 3 options only. As I've talked about in other videos, 3 options, in my opinion, is king, and there's psychology and reasons behind it that I've studied in the past with other top sales guys, and 3 seems to be not an overwhelming number that just confuses them. I mean, more than 3 starts to confuse the clients. They have too many options to think about, and you don't want to get in that position. Okay, let's go back to Mary. Mary wants cremation, right? So the average price of a cremation in the state of Texas right now, Mary, is about $3,000. Let's just say Mary is 70 years old. Okay, so you're 70 right now, Miss Mary. Okay, average price is $3,000, right, for a cremation. Same thing, every 10 years, prices approximately double. So when you're 80, looking at 6,000. Let's just look at the chart, life expectancy chart. Make sure. Current age 70. Life expectancy is 15.69 years to take you to 85.69. Okay, so 85.69. So we're going to take half of 3,000. So you need to be at 7,500 is where you kind of need to be, because that's about what it'll feel like 3,000 15 years from now. So why don't we look at 5, 6, and 7,500 for you, Miss Jones? Or you could say 5, 7,500, or 10. Whatever it is, try and always do three options, okay? So at this point, we know what we're dealing with as far as meds and their health. We know how much we want to look at, and we want to, at this point, start looking at what their benefits of the plan I would recommend. So at this point, I'm pulling this thing out. All right, see how it's laminated because I use it all the time. And it comes in handy also when you're at a desk or table or something where there's, a cloth and you don't want to punch through your pen on the cloth on their and mess up their cloth, right? So I use this sometimes as a clipboard, if you will. But anyway, so the plan I would recommend for you, Mrs. Jones, would be this guy here, and here's all the benefits. This is how it's going to work for you, right? So at this point, I'll put this down, and I'm going to do a couple of things. Either A, you're going to show them, you're going to get the quotes ready. So we always want to quote the lady first, typically, because typically the ladies are going to be less expensive, right? So you don't want to, again, it's psychology. Sales is a lot of psychology. You don't want to scare them off with the higher prices. So always try and show them the person that you know already. It's going to be less expensive. Typically, it's the female. Unless she's doing a crazy amount. Show that price first. So let's just say age 70, we said, right? And she only, let's look at, so you're going to get so what I recommended, Ms. Jones, about 7,500, right? So let's type in 7,500 because you're going to want this ready, and I'll tell you why. All right, so female, non-tobacco, and 7,500, we know that she's on diabetes with insulin, gabapentin. Okay, so okay, so I already have the quote ready, but I'm not going to show them that quote. I'm just going to have it ready, loaded up in my phone. At this point, I'm going to start hitting them with the benefits. This is the plan I would recommend, Ms. Jones, and this is why. All right, so the way your plan would work is it's a permanent protection plan. All right, see that? Permanent protection. So as long as you pay your premiums, and the premiums, Ms. Rodriguez, is your monthly amounts, right? Premiums are the monthly amounts. So as long as you pay your premiums, let's just make math easy, Ms. Jones. Let's just say it's $100. Now, let me stop. The reason I say a high number is because I want them to think in high numbers right now. It might scare some of them off by doing that, but I'll tell you, when I tell them the price later on, you want them to start thinking that this is a high price. So when you tell them that it's $40, it's going to sound like it's a lot less, right? So again, psychology. So let's just say, for instance, for this example, Mrs. Jones, it's going to be $100 per month, right? So as long as you pay your $100 per month, your coverage is guaranteed for life. Now, guaranteed for life is the most important part of this entire card, and let me tell you why. A lot of companies can't say guaranteed for life. So let me just show you a couple examples of what you're going to see out there. You probably see them on the TV, through the mail. You probably got something like this in the mail. Well, let me show you one company that works like this. You've probably heard of AARP, right? Household name. Everybody's heard of AARP. Yeah. Well, look at this. The plan that most of the people out there get, all right, it's the most prominent plan they have is a term plan. Term is short for terminate, right? So term, that means it's going to end at a certain point. A lot of clients don't know that, right? So this one, for instance, guaranteed to age 80. Then it terminates, okay? So you've been paying all that time, and that policy is now gone. And now you're 80 with no coverage. I already told you, Mrs. Rodriguez, your life expectancy is 85.69 years old. So guess what? This plan probably wouldn't be the best plan for you, right? I always agree with you. That's not even the worst part, in my opinion. Look at this, Ms. Rodriguez. Premiums every 5 years will increase, all right? So every 5 years, they're going to jack the rate up to either A, you can't afford it anymore, or B, even if you can afford it and you reach age 80, policy's gone anyway. So it's kind of hard to determine, to know if you can afford this over time without knowing what the price is going to be, because they keep raising it every 5 years, all right? So let me show you our plan. With our plan, again, it's guaranteed for life. A lot of companies can't say that like them, right, on their term plan. And look, your coverage will not decrease. Oh, I'm sorry. Your rates will never increase. Right? Remember I showed you every 5 years they raise the rates? Okay, with us, you don't have to worry about that. If it's $100 today, it's $100 forever. So you can budget for something because you know what the price is going to be, all right? So again, guarantee for life, your rates will never increase. And look at this one, your coverage will never decrease. Now, this was important, Mrs. Jones, because a lot of companies out there, back in the day, there was a lot of plans out there that start you off with $10,000 and it decreases over time. All of a sudden, you pass away and your beneficiary, your husband George, gets $6,000. And you know, you'll often wonder yourself, I thought I had a $10,000. I thought he had a $10,000 plan on himself. It's because he had a decreasing plan. He just didn't know it. So we don't play those games, Mrs. Jones. If you want $10,000, he's going to get $10,000. If you want 15, he's going to get 15. If you want 7,500, he's going to get 7,500. Okay. And here's the deal. Here's another important thing: protection from the very first day. Okay. A lot of companies out there can't say that like we can. Okay. A lot of companies out there will put a 2 or a 3 year waiting period on it. Okay, so if something happens in the first 2 years, you're just going to get your money back plus a small percentage, like maybe 10%. With us, if something happens 3 months from now, George is going to get the full amount, full 10,000, full 15,000. Okay, so that's very important. And it does build cash value as well, Mrs. Rodriguez. It's probably the least important of them all, but if for whatever reasons you get in a bind, 5 years from now you need to borrow some money, you can do that from this plan. Or if you get in a bind and can't pay the premium for 6 months, well, the cash value that's been built up in there can keep your policy alive for you, okay? Okay, all that being said, let me ask you, Mrs. Rodriguez, how much do you think your $7,500 plan would be? Okay, now let me stop right there. That's the important thing. That's why I wanted this quote already up and running, is because I wanted to make sure that I'm going to nail her with all these benefits, right up front. And as soon as I finish telling her all the great things about this plan, her mind's going to be thinking, well, this got to be a lot of money, and plus he already said it's guess is $100 per month, because I named that as an example earlier in the presentation, right? So now she's thinking, okay, this is it's going to be expensive. So at this point, sometimes they'll guess. I'd say 85% of the time, maybe 90% of the time, they're going to guess a lot higher than what the actual premium is. So at this point, Mary is saying, I don't know, maybe like $85. And I forgot to do this. I normally write the number down. So I'm going to write this. I'm going to write the number down, so I can't change the answer, Miss Rodriguez. All right. So I already wrote the price down. So how much do you think this is per month? What would your guess be? And I'm covering it the whole time. I don't know. Maybe $85. Good. Whatever they say. Good guess. And of course, unless they guess the smaller price, right? Even if they do that, you can always come back and talk about, maybe you might be seeing commercials. That's term, Ms. Jones, and, go into that spill again, compare term to what you're about to show them. But 90% of the time, typically, 85-90% of the time, they're going to overprice themselves, right? So good guess, Mrs. Jones. No matter what they say, it's good guess, Ms. Jones. But I think you'll be happy to see this. $45 and a penny, or $45. Oh, wow, I thought it was going to be a lot more than that. Okay, well, how much is $10,000? At that point, you have them, because I hear this often. At that point, they're starting to upsell themselves, and you have to pull them, reel them back in, and be like, easy. You want to make sure there's something that you can afford, and so a lot of times, they're ecstatic because they were thinking it's going to be $85, right? So now they're saying, well, how much is 10? How much is 12? How much is 15? At that point, you're just going up the ladder with them, okay? I noticed when I started doing this presentation, my premiums got a lot bigger. I used to be the king of the small premiums, right? A lot of $30s and $40 type premiums. Now, with this new presentation, I'm getting, I don't know what my average is because I don't keep tabs of that per se, but it went from around 30 or 40 to probably my average is probably 70 or so, would be my guess, okay? I could be off on that, but it's a significant increase on that, okay? Let's just say 60 to 70. Story being is that you hit them with this, all the benefits right before you show them the prices, right? And now they're excited. Now they know they can afford it. And let's look at George's, because now you're reeling them back in, but they want to know how much George's is also, so they can do the math in their head. Now they're thinking, well, shoot, I can maybe get both of these for the price that of one that I thought it was going to be about $85. Maybe we was very close to basically getting 2 for 1. Now they're thinking, man, I'm getting a discount, 50% discount. They're excited. Okay. All right, George. Well, let's look at yours, George. We needed be around 24,000, but let's look at 10, 15, and 20. All right. So we're looking at George's. Do the same thing with George. At that point, you don't have to do the covering so much and guessing so much, because they kind of have a feel for prices a little bit better at that point. And I always let them know. Well, and keep in mind, males are always more expensive and things like that. I just prep them while I'm looking at the quotes. So George comes in at, let's just say for 10,000, it's $50, 15, it's 65, and 20 is, let's just say, 80. At that point, I'm putting that in front of them, in front of George and his wife, and saying which of those makes the most sense for you and your budget and your family at this point. And they start doing the math, and they know what their budget is, and at that point they're picking. I think I'll go with the 7,500. Let's just go with the 10,000 for George right now. No problem. Look, guys, I'm always going to be your agent. Okay. So whenever you want to add to it, just call me. I'm going to leave you my magnet here, and anybody that becomes my client, I give a magnet to. So those things have made me a lot of money since I started using them. So, and I'll go put them on the refrigerator myself. So, and at that point, I say, okay, look, nothing's due today. If you do nothing's due today, what we're going to do now, guys, is we're just going to call the companies, make double sure. At this point, you could even pull out the application to make double sure and start reading the health questions to them on the application. Start reading over the Foresters application or Mutual of Omaha application. Make sure that they're good to go before you call in to do the telephone interview. And Mrs. Jones, they're going to ask you these same questions that I just asked you. You answer them all no with me. Just do the same thing with them. Just say all no to the health questions. And at that point, they're going to let me know if you were approved or not. Right? And most of this stuff can be done over the speakerphone, so you can hear it all play out. And at that point, you are filling out applications and making the calls to the client to seal the deal. So hopefully this was a good little breakdown. Sometimes in these videos, when it's not a real deal situation, I might have left a couple things out here or there. When I'm in the real deal situation, I don't. But this is a little mock thing, and I don't get real responses. So, but that's pretty much a breakdown of what I do in the home, and basically broken down into pieces. So hopefully that helps somebody.